In January 2026, Ashley Tisdale published an essay about leaving her toxic mom group, and within days, Hilary Duff's husband, Matthew Coma, publicly attacked her on Instagram, turning a private friendship fallout into one of the messiest celebrity feuds of the year. This is the complete story of how a pandemic-era mom group featuring some of Hollywood's biggest names imploded in the most public way possible. And if you're here for the drama, do me a favor and hit that like button right now, because trust me, this story gets wilder with every detail. Understanding who these people are matters before we dive into what went wrong between them. Ashley Tisdale, now 40 years old, rose to fame on Disney Channel's The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody and became a household name playing Sharpay Evans in the High School Musical franchise. And here's the ironic part. Sharpay was the quintessential mean girl, a detail that would later feel uncomfortably relevant to her own life. Hilary Duff, who's 38, made her mark as the star of Lizzie McGuire, another Disney Channel icon that defined a generation. At 41, Mandy Moore had built her career through films like A Walk to Remember and the hit series This Is Us, while Meghan Trainor, the 32-year-old singer behind All About That Bass, rounded out the group's celebrity members. These weren't just random celebrities who happened to have kids at the same time. They were women navigating motherhood during one of the most isolating periods in recent history, and that shared experience would initially bond them together before everything fell apart. The early pandemic created a uniquely difficult environment for becoming a new mother, and Ashley Tisdale had her first daughter, Jupiter Irish French, in March 2021 when isolation was at its peak. Most of the women in this group had been pregnant through the early pandemic, which meant they missed out on all the normal ways expectant mothers connect and prepare for parenthood. Ashley would later write about this experience, explaining that we hadn't had baby showers or prenatal yoga, and hardly anyone had held our newborns, which made finding other new moms feel that much more desperate and necessary. When a mutual friend brought together a group of new moms who were all in the same situation, it felt like a lifeline to women who'd been drowning in isolation. Mandy Moore described how the group came together in a 2022 InStyle interview, saying Hilary Duff, being the supermom that she is, formed a cool mom club. And by August 2023, Hilary herself told InStyle, "I feel like I was kind of the ringleader because I've had children before, and all of them were on their first child." That detail carries weight when you think about the dynamic that would eventually form. While Ashley, Mandy, and Meghan were navigating first-time motherhood with all its uncertainty and fear, Hilary already had her son Luca, who's now 13, from her previous marriage to Mike Comrie, which naturally positioned her as the group's leader, whether she intended that or not. The group had a text thread they called True Thread, and for a time it seemed to provide exactly what these isolated new mothers needed: community, support, and understanding from people who got it. Nobody knows exactly when the dynamic changed, but the evidence shows it did shift from supportive to toxic somewhere along the way. Ashley Tisdale went on to have a second daughter, Emerson Clover, in September 2024, while Hilary Duff had her fourth child in May 2024, bringing her total to 4 kids: Luca at 13, Banks at 7, May at 4, and baby Towns at 1. December 2024 marked the last photograph of Ashley with the mom group, and something happened between that photo and New Year's Day 2026 that broke the friendship beyond repair. Quick pause. If you're enjoying this breakdown of the drama, hit that subscribe button because we cover all the celebrity tea you need to know about. And yes, there's a bell icon that'll make sure you don't miss when the next batch of chaos drops. Ashley published a blog post on her lifestyle brand Frenchie's website in December 2025 titled "You're Allowed to Leave Your Mom Group." And in that post, she wrote about how mom groups can turn toxic, not because the moms themselves are toxic people, but because the dynamic shifts into an ugly place with mean girl behavior, and I know this from personal experience. She described how cliques formed within the larger group, how there were group text chains that didn't include everyone, and how the dynamic shifts to an ugly place with mean girl behavior, with moms talking derogatorily about other moms when they weren't there, which painted a picture of exclusion and backstabbing that felt deliberate. That blog post got attention, but what came next would turn attention into a full-blown media circus. New Year's Day 2026 brought Ashley Tisdale's expanded essay in The Cut titled Breaking Up with My Toxic Mom Group, and it provided specific, painful details about feeling excluded that made the situation feel real and raw. She wrote about being left out of group hangouts and only finding out through Instagram, describing nights sitting alone after getting her daughter to bed and thinking, maybe I'm not cool enough? All of a sudden, I was in high school again, feeling totally lost as to what I was doing wrong to be left out. One dinner party story hit particularly hard. Ashley described attending one mom's dinner party and realizing where she'd been seated at the end of the table, far from the rest of the women, and that's when she started noticing every way that they seemed to exclude me, which is the kind of detail that makes you feel the sting of rejection right along with her. She talked about being at her own daughter's birthday party and feeling excluded from the planning happening right in front of her, like she was a guest at her own child's celebration rather than the host. The essay was raw, vulnerable, and clearly written from a place of deep hurt that she'd been carrying for months. Ashley made a point of saying, "To be clear, I have never considered the moms to be bad people, maybe one, but I do think our group dynamic stopped being healthy and positive, for me anyway, and that parenthetical maybe one would prove to be significant once the internet started connecting dots." Eventually, Ashley sent a text to the group saying, "This is too high school for me, and I don't want to take part in it anymore." And as she wrote, the response wasn't exactly understanding. Some of the others tried to smooth things over. One sent flowers, then ignored me when I thanked her for them. Another tried to convince me that everyone assumed I'd been invited to gatherings and just hadn't shown up, which reads like gaslighting wrapped in politeness. The essay never named names. Ashley deliberately kept it vague, referring only to the moms and my friend. But she provided enough context that anyone paying attention could figure out who she was talking about, which would prove to be either naive or strategic, depending on your interpretation. Hours after the essay's publication, internet sleuths went to work like they always do, and they pulled up old Instagram photos showing Ashley with Hilary Duff, Mandy Moore, Meghan Trainor, and food influencer Gabby Dalkin together at various playdates and gatherings. They resurfaced those in-style interviews where Hilary called herself the ringleader, and Mandy praised Hilary for forming the Cool Mom Club, creating a timeline that made it pretty obvious who Ashley was writing about. January 5th brought Ashley's representative issuing a denial to TMZ with a statement claiming the essay was not about Hilary Duff, Mandy Moore, or Meghan Trainor, that it was meant to highlight issues facing young mothers, and that it was unfortunate the essay had been twisted and people had made incorrect assumptions about who was involved. And look, if you're thinking, wait, that denial makes no sense given all the context clues, drop a like on this video because you're paying attention and I appreciate that. But if the representative's statement was meant to quiet things down, what happened next made that absolutely impossible. Because Hilary Duff, Hilary's older sister, liked Ashley's Instagram post promoting the Cut essay on that same day. The post's caption read, "Leave your toxic friends behind you in 2026. And Us Weekly, along with multiple outlets, confirmed this like happened and captured screenshots. The implications were explosive when you consider that Haley and Hilary Duff haven't been photographed together publicly since 2019, with years of speculation about an estrangement between the sisters hanging in the background. Haley was publicly appearing to take Ashley Tisdale's side against her own sister, which added a whole other layer of family drama to an already messy situation. Haley's like added fuel to the fire, but what Matthew Coma did next was like throwing gasoline on it and lighting a match just to watch it burn. January 6, 2026 brought Matthew Coma, Hilary Duff's husband and a musician known for the band Winnetka Bowling League, posting a mocking Instagram story that crossed every line of reasonable response. He'd photoshopped a fake article headline that read, "When you're the most self-obsessed, tone-deaf person on earth, other moms tend to shift focus to their actual toddlers," with a subheadline saying, "A mom group tell-all through a father's eyes," and a caption reading, "Read my new interview with @TheCut." This was a direct, personal attack, calling Ashley self-obsessed and tone-deaf, suggesting that the problem wasn't the other moms excluding her, but rather Ashley being so awful that the moms naturally focused on their actual toddlers instead, which implied Ashley wasn't even focusing on her own children properly. The aggression level was particularly notable considering Hilary herself had remained completely silent, letting Matthew be the one going to bat for his wife in the messiest way possible. For context, Hilary has previously described Matthew as the biggest troll on the planet Earth in past interviews, so this kind of online behavior wasn't completely out of character for him. But this wasn't playful trolling between friends. This was a targeted attack on someone his wife had once called a friend, and he essentially confirmed that yes, the essay was about this specific group of people, despite Ashley's representative saying otherwise just a day earlier. January 7th brought Christopher French, Ashley's husband and a musician she married in 2014, posting his own cryptic Instagram stories that took a completely different approach. He wrote, "It's your choice whether or not to engage," and "underrated life skill," pausing to decide if it's worth your energy, and the message was clear without being aggressive. He was taking the high road, or at least publicly appearing to, refusing to engage in the mudslinging that Matthew Coma had started, which made the contrast between the two husbands' approaches stark and noticeable. That same day, Mandy Moore posted an Instagram story that added another layer to the situation by praising Matthew Coma, writing, "Love you, MB," and thanking him for providing shelter during the wildfires 1 year ago today. She was referencing the LA wildfires from January 2025, which had destroyed her home, and the implication was that Hilary and Matthew had taken Mandy and her family in during their time of need, creating a debt of loyalty that might explain her public support. Subscribe if you're realizing this drama has more layers than your mom's lasagna, because we're only halfway through this mess. This detail becomes relevant when you look at the speculation about why the friend group fell apart in the first place, since one theory revolves around Ashley's response, or lack thereof, during those wildfires. Here's where things get murky, because we're entering the realm of speculation and anonymous sources that should be taken with caution. Ashley's essay doesn't specify exactly what caused the rift beyond feeling excluded and frozen out. And she writes, "The truth is, I don't know, and I probably never will, about why she was excluded," which suggests even she doesn't fully understand what happened. Various outlets have reported different theories based on anonymous sources, and one theory involves political differences. One source claimed Ashley posted about Charlie Kirk, a right-wing activist who died in September 2025, though the details and timing remain unclear in the reporting. Kirk was controversial for promoting conspiracy theories and making inflammatory statements, and Ashley's representative stated she's a registered Democrat and that her post condemned political violence, calling any political interpretations of her essay completely off base. Another theory centers on the LA wildfires and Ashley's alleged lack of response during the crisis. A source told the U.S. Sun that Ashley didn't offer to help with the means she has during the wildfires and just lived her own life, didn't check in to see how they were doing, and her friends felt abandoned by her, which would be damning if true. Remember, Mandy Moore's home was destroyed and Hilary reportedly took her in, so if Ashley didn't reach out during that crisis, it could explain why the friendship fractured beyond repair. A source told People magazine there was a misalignment of values, but didn't specify what those values were, leaving everyone to fill in the blanks with their own theories. The same source said friends naturally drift apart. It didn't warrant a dramatic breakup text, while another source told People Ashley put this out there because toxic behavior is not acceptable. This is blowing up in the craziest way. showing that even the anonymous sources can't agree on who's in the wrong here. Then there are the more gossipy claims from anonymous sources that should be taken with extreme skepticism and a grain of salt. One article claimed Ashley would start a fight over who brought the wrong snack or who responded too slowly in the chat, that she'll show up late, leave early, and then post passive-aggressive memes, and that she ignored repeated invites, then complained about being left out, which sounds like someone trying to paint Ashley as the problem rather than the victim. The truth is, we don't actually know what happened, and we may never know the full story. What we do know for certain is that by January 7th, 2026, Ashley had unfollowed Hilary Duff, Mandy Moore, and Gabby Dalkin on Instagram, creating a digital paper trail of the friendship's end. Interestingly, she still followed Meghan Trainor, and Mandy Moore still followed her, suggesting the fallout wasn't uniform across all members of the group. Meghan Trainor attempted to distance herself from the drama in the most Meghan Trainor way possible when she posted a TikTok video on January 8th with the caption, "Me finding out about the apparent mom group drama," with her own song, "Still Don't Care," playing in the background. Her husband, Daryl Sabara, the 33-year-old actor from Spy Kids, told TMZ on January 8th that, "No drama over here, just trying to keep the kids happy, you know? I don't really know what's going on. I hope she's okay, though," which was diplomatic enough to avoid taking sides while still expressing some concern for Ashley. January 12th brought Meghan posting another TikTok using audio from Stranger Things, captioned, "I swear I'm innocent," doubling down on her stance that she wasn't part of whatever went down between Ashley and the others. The fact that Ashley still followed Meghan and that Meghan was publicly distancing herself from the conflict suggests she either wasn't part of the alleged exclusion or was trying to maintain friendships on both sides without getting dragged into the mess, which honestly seems like the smartest approach anyone took in this situation. What's notable and honestly kind of strange is who hasn't directly responded to any of this. Hilary Duff, the alleged ringleader of the group according to her own words, has remained completely silent, with no statements, no social media posts addressing it, nothing at all. She's let her husband do the talking, which in itself says something about how she wants to handle this, whether that's strategic silence or just not caring enough to respond. Mandy Moore also hasn't directly addressed the essay, with her only contribution being that Instagram story praising Matthew Coma and mentioning the wildfire shelter, which felt more like a show of solidarity with Hilary than a direct comment on Ashley's accusations. If you're wondering why Hilary hasn't said anything herself, comment below with your theories, because I'm curious what you all think is going on behind the scenes here. In a November 2025 Rolling Stone interview, just weeks before this all blew up, Hilary had talked about her fans going through complicated relationships, anxiety, raising kids, divorces, trying to find yourself in adulthood, or family drama. And it's almost eerie how relevant that quote became just weeks later, when her own family drama with her sister and complicated relationships with former friends became public knowledge. What's interesting is that this drama has resonated far beyond celebrity gossip and tabloid headlines. Ashley mentioned in her essay that after the blog post, women DM'd her saying, "I feel seen," and the experience of being excluded from a mom group, of feeling like you're back in high school, of not understanding what you did wrong, these are universal experiences that transcend fame and money. Even Christy Carlson Romano, another Disney Channel alum, posted a video commentary about mom groups on Instagram on January 6th, though she didn't specifically address Ashley's situation, showing that the topic was striking a nerve across the entertainment industry. PR professionals have analyzed this as a case study in how partial anonymity backfires in the age of social media. Ashley tried to tell her story without naming names, providing enough context to make her experience relatable, but keeping it vague enough to protect privacy. But in the age of the internet, that approach is basically impossible. Within hours, people had identified everyone involved through Instagram deep dives and interview cross-referencing, turning what might have been a general think piece about mom group dynamics into a specific celebrity feud. The media has called this Y2K drama and early 2000s adjacent drama, playing up the Disney Channel connections and the fact that these are women who grew up in the public eye during that era. Headlines have ranged from sympathetic takes on mom group toxicity to more salacious coverage of celebrity feuds, depending on which outlet you're reading and what angle they want to push. As of January 14th, 2026, here's where everything stands in this ongoing situation. Ashley posted a yoga video on Instagram on January 10th with the caption, "Find Your Strength Within, coming February 1st," promoting her French brand and clearly trying to move forward and focus on her business rather than dwelling on the drama. The social media follows tell their own story about where relationships stand. Ashley has unfollowed Hilary, Mandy, and Gabby, but still follows Megan, while Mandy still follows Ashley. And these digital breadcrumbs suggest that the relationships are fractured, but perhaps not uniformly so across all members of the group. Matthew Coma's attack stands as the most aggressive public salvo in this entire mess. And the fact that it came from a spouse rather than one of the actual moms involved adds a strange dimension to everything. He positioned himself as defending his wife, but he did so in a way that his wife herself hadn't chosen to engage in, which raises questions about whether she wanted him to go that hard or if he just decided to on his own. Hilary's continued silence is deafening when you think about it. She could easily address this, could issue a statement, could tell her side of the story and set the record straight. But that she hasn't suggests either that she's taking the high road, that she's been advised by publicists to stay quiet, or that she simply doesn't think Ashley's essay warrants a response from her at all. The Hilary Duff angle remains one of the most intriguing subplots that hasn't been resolved. By liking Ashley's post, she publicly signaled support for someone calling out toxic friend behavior, knowing full well that people believed her own sister was involved. And if there's already an estrangement between the Duff sisters dating back to 2019, this latest move certainly won't help repair that relationship anytime soon. There's a painful irony in all of this that's hard to ignore when you think about Ashley's career. Ashley Tisdale became famous playing Sharpay Evans, the mean girl of East High who excluded people and created cliques and made other students feel less than just for existing. Her entire character arc in High School Musical was about learning that excluding people and treating friendship as a status game was wrong and harmful. Decades later, she's written an essay about experiencing that exact dynamic in her real life, about feeling excluded and belittled, about being treated like she wasn't cool enough or good enough to be part of the inner circle. She writes about feeling like she was in high school again, and given her most famous role, that comparison cuts deeper than it might for anyone else who didn't literally play the character doing the excluding. In her essay, Ashley wrote that one mom sent flowers after the breakup text, then ignored her when she thanked her for them, while another tried to convince her that everyone assumed she'd been invited to things and just hadn't shown up. These are the kinds of passive-aggressive, gaslighting behaviors that Ashley clearly felt were unacceptable, toxic enough to write about publicly and risk the backlash that would inevitably come. But from the other perspective, as that People magazine source said, friends naturally drift apart. It didn't warrant a dramatic breakup text. And there's a version of this story where Ashley was being overly sensitive, where she was reading exclusion into normal friend group dynamics, where her breakup text was an overreaction that made things awkward for everyone involved. Hit that like button if you've ever been in a friend group that got weird and you weren't sure if you were the problem or if everyone else was, because I think we've all been there in some form. We'll probably never know the full truth of what happened in that group chat and at those playdates. Ashley admits as much herself, writing, "The truth is, I don't know and I probably never will about why she was excluded," which is maybe the most honest and relatable part of her entire essay. Beyond the celebrity gossip and the Instagram drama, this situation highlights something real about modern motherhood and friendship that deserves attention. The pressure to have the perfect mom tribe, especially amplified by social media where every interaction is documented and visible, creates impossible standards that nobody can actually live up to in reality. When you can see every play date you weren't invited to, every group photo you're not in, every inside joke you're not part of, the exclusion feels magnified beyond what it might have felt like before social media existed. You're not just missing out, you're seeing evidence of missing out multiple times a day as it pops up in your feed. The pandemic made this dynamic worse in specific ways. These women bonded during an incredibly vulnerable, isolated time when they had nothing else and nobody else who understood what they were going through. They missed out on normal pregnancy experiences and clung to each other as lifelines in a terrifying time. And when those relationships soured, the betrayal likely felt deeper because of how much they needed each other in the beginning.
There's also the complication of celebrity that normal mom groups don't deal with. When Hilary Duff tells InStyle she's the ringleader, when Mandy Moore calls it a cool mom club, they're not just talking to each other about their private friend group. They're talking to the world and creating a public record. Every playdate is potentially content for Instagram. Every friendship is potentially public knowledge, and that adds pressure that normal mom groups don't face on top of all the regular pressure. Then you add in different parenting philosophies, different values, different political beliefs, different approaches to work-life balance, and it's honestly remarkable that any friend group stays together long-term, celebrity or not, especially when you're all sleep-deprived and overwhelmed with small children.
This drama has given us everything we didn't know we needed. Disney Channel nostalgia, sister drama, husband defenders, cryptic Instagram stories, and a genuine debate about what constitutes toxic friendship versus natural friend group evolution. Media outlets have called it the gift that keeps on giving, and as of mid-January 2026, it shows no signs of slowing down or resolving anytime soon. Ashley Tisdale published an essay about leaving a toxic mom group, trying to share a relatable experience about friendship and exclusion that many mothers face. Within a week, Hilary Duff's husband had publicly attacked her. Her sister-in-law had taken her side against her own sister, and the internet had turned it into one of the messiest celebrity feuds in recent memory, with think pieces and social media commentary flooding every platform. Whether you believe Ashley was genuinely excluded and treated poorly by women she thought were her friends, or whether you think she overreacted to friends naturally drifting apart the way adult friendships sometimes do, probably says more about your own experiences with friendship than it does about what actually happened in this specific group. Before you go, subscribe to this channel and smash that notification bell, because if this drama taught us anything, it's that celebrity feuds can escalate fast, and you don't want to miss the next chapter when someone finally breaks their silence. What we know for certain is this: a group of women who bonded during the pandemic, who supported each other through first-time motherhood and isolation, who built what seemed like genuine friendships, documented across Instagram and interviews, have now very publicly fallen apart. The text thread called True Thread is presumably silent now. The playdates have stopped, and the Instagram posts together are over, replaced by unfollows and cryptic messages. Ashley ended her essay by writing about how she's found new, healthier friendships and learned to trust her instincts about when a relationship isn't serving her anymore. She encouraged other women to do the same, to recognize when a friend group has become toxic and to give themselves permission to walk away even when it's scary and uncomfortable. Whether she was right to make that walk so public, to publish the essay knowing people would identify who she was talking about despite her representative's later denials, that's a question everyone will have to answer for themselves based on their own values and experiences. But one thing is clear: this drama has proven that no matter how famous you are, how successful you are, or how much you've grown since your Disney Channel days. Navigating adult friendships, especially as mothers, is messy, complicated, and sometimes painfully public when you're in the spotlight. And sometimes the girl who played the mean girl ends up feeling like the one being excluded, and life is strange that way, coming full circle in ways nobody could have predicted when those High School Musical movies were filming almost 20 years ago. Thanks for watching. Drop a comment about whose side you're on, and I'll see you in the next video when this drama inevitably continues.